Thanks, Scott. We'll get started in a couple minutes.
Beautiful.
O'clock,
And away we go.
and we are live.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We have basically a one-item agenda tonight. We have the city solicitor, Dave Subcheck here. Took me months to remember your name. And he's going to be talking to us about conflict of interest, and I'm sure he has other pieces of information as well, but we're hoping that it will be easier for the committee when they are looking at applications and wanting to move things forward to really get a good understanding of it. So, and there's Scott on the camera, and he's here. Hi, Scott. We do have another member that has let us know, and that's Jamie Comstock. Will not be here tonight. And I think the rest.
I did not hear from Jason.
I haven't either. That's all
So I got an auto reply to an
he
email that
may
I sent
just be
from
running
Thursday.
a.
I
We
got an
can't hear
auto.
him.
Can you hear me now? No?
I can see your mouth going, but I don't hear anything.
Okay.
You're all the way up for us. But it looks like you're muted.
Are you muted on your screen? Try now.
No, I got my. Let's go.
I heard a whisper.
We can hear you, but only barely.
Can you hear me now?
We hear the whisper.
Hold on a second.
Where's it coming out?
I wonder if he does.
How's that? Can you hear me?
Same.
Jason's on vacation until the 27th.
Okay, well, we'll do the best we can. At least you're here and you'll hear the presentation, so. David, whenever you're ready, what's all this up there now?
I was just looking to see if there was a way to improve.
He's still there, so. All right. All right, anytime you're ready to get started.
Dave Subcheck, City Solicitor. I handed out to the people who were attending in person, sections 33-11 and 33-2 of our Code of Ethics. Sorry, Scott, I did not provide for a handout for people that were attending remotely. But that's what that's what I've handed out, just 33-11 and 33-2 that you can look at our under our city code of ordinances. You can look at them there if you want to. So my only topic that I intended to talk about tonight was conflict of interest. All right. And the provision that would have applicability here would be 33-11 capital A. It says no board member or commission member shall participate in the deliberation or vote or otherwise take part in the decision-making process on any agenda item before their collective body in which they or a member of their immediate family has a financial or special interest other than an interest held by the public generally. So that's the key, financial or special interest, other than an interest held by the public generally. If anyone wonders whether they might have a conflict on an item, they should disclose it before discussion on the item so that the board can deal with it up front and ultimately take a vote on whether there is a conflict before any substantive discussion of the matter occurs. And once the issue of a conflict has been raised, the board members or the committee members need to review the facts as disclosed to them and need to vote on whether or not the individual has a financial or special interest with respect to the particular agenda item. And that's spelled out in subsection capital C. So the conflict of interest questions related to a particular agenda item are resolved prior to any consideration of the item. And each member of the committee would vote on the potential conflict of interest, except the person who is the subject of whether it may or may not be a conflict. And a majority vote determines the question. So now,
Can I just pause? I just want to know Jamie has joined us.
Oh, she has.
Oh, good.
oh, okay.
Hi, Jamie, welcome.
Hi, good to see you.
Oh, it must be us. She's
Now here's the trick. Can you hear me, Jamie?
Keep going in. I'll just
I can
see if
hear you.
Okay, but they couldn't hear me, so yep, it's
So-
them.
I handed out 33-2 because it has the definitions of financial interest and special interest. And it's the first sentence of financial interest that's the most important. A direct or indirect interest having monetary or pecuniary value, including but not limited to ownership of shares of stock. A special interest is defined under our ordinance as a direct or indirect interest having value peculiar to a certain individual or group, whether economic or otherwise, which value may accrue to such individual or group as a result of the passage or denial of any order, ordinance, or resolution, or the approval or disapproval thereof by the city council, board, or commission, and which interest is not shared by the general public. So, in the context here, I would encourage, if a potential conflict issue is raised, I would encourage the committee to ask specific questions about the facts so that you can get specifically what is the situation. If you don't ask detailed enough questions, you might not be able to fully understand the nature of the fact situations for you to make your analysis regarding whether there's conflict or not. So in this context, what we have here are opioid settlement funds. So we have a limited pool of resources. As I understand it, there are gonna be applicants to apply for to get access some of those funds. So if an applicant, and this committee is going to be making recommendations to the city council as to whether those applicants should be granted the funds that they're seeking. So if there is that there are people on the committee that have associations with entities that may also be seeking those funds. And nothing in this rule, and it says it later on, if there are people here that are associated with entities that are gonna be seeking access funds, there's nothing in here that prevents that committee member from, although not participating in that discussion, could participate as not sitting at the table, but as one of the applicants for that, whatever it is they're applying for. Because it says in E, nothing herein shall be construed to prohibit any board member or commission member from representing their own personal interest by appearing before their collective body on any such agenda. So, but the difference is, I was hoping we'd be, if you're in, we were in here, so we're not at a dais, but if we were out in the room and the board were sitting up at the dais, the individual who has the personal interest would not be up at the dais, they might be down in front of the microphones seeking from the board recommendation for the approval of the application. But in this case, what we may have are other applicants who are seeking this finite fund, and whether this board recommends approval or disapproval could potentially have ramifications on what is left over for someone who may have an interest with it involving another entity for funds in this limited fund, if that makes sense. And so,
Scott, could you try to say something?
Hi, can you hear me now?
No.
so that is the overall gist of what I see as might be some of the issues that
Can I
could,
give you a scenario?
sure,
Can you tell me something?
yeah,
So let's say I belong to an entity that's going to be requesting some funds. And I want to sit on, well, with the plan is for all of us to sit on and go through all of these applicants. I don't know that they'll be. Am I able to sit and listen to what people are saying when they're talking about my entity? Or am I allowed to, I'm not allowed to vote on that. But as far as grading something,
Can you hear me now? La la la.
So we're gonna have-
as far, well, there's two different things you're asking.
Yeah, okay.
One is, let's take the easy one first.
Yeah.
The one where you are maybe even representing your entity
Yeah.
and seeking some of the funds.
but I'm on this committee
Right,
also helping disperse the funds.
right,
Yeah.
but let's talk about that in a
Okay.
second.
Say
Okay,
like a
all right.
bunch of
First,
nursery
let's talk about
rhymes.
your entity.
Yeah.
You could apply
How are
to
you
the
feeling?
board for recommendation, as I understand how these applications are
busy.
gonna work. Mhm.
Good.
But you could not participate on the board in reviewing your own application.
But I can review other applications.
That's the second thing we're gonna talk about.
Okay.
The first thing is you can't
Hey,
participate on the, oh,
look at
look at that. Good
I
job,
have to
Carol.
turn it down. Too loud.
that. Sorry, guys. Is that a better volume?
Good.
Good. Sweet.
So, staying with the first topic.
Okay.
You could not participate as a member of the council, of the committee.
Yeah,
With regard to reviewing your entity's application. But you could present it on behalf of the entity.
Yes.
Not sitting at the table with them.
yeah,
But being out in the public, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as reviewing other applications, when you know that your application is gonna be coming up later, you know, an argument could be made that you could have, you may have a special interest in that item, the other people's items, because if they are all denied, there might be more funds left over for your entity. And if you look carefully at the definition of special interest, I think that,
Excuse me, are you saying that we would be unethical in doing that, correct? If we were to, I think when Jason is here, unfortunately, but his point was that there's several of us, a lot of us that are going to be asking for funds. And his point was we shouldn't be grading any of them, and it should be left to the three people to do all the work, to do all the grading. And my objection to that was that we sit on this committee together. And if we're not here for that purpose, that's the purpose that we're here for, is to grade these applications. And if we can't grade any of these applications, you know, as Jason said, we should just resign. Because we aren't doing anything. Now, I was told by by Debbie Laurie, that this would in no way would jeopardize Fresh Start or anybody else that sits on this committee from being able to receive funds from this committee, and that we would be an active part of the committee. But if we can't grade these things because somebody has the perception that we're unethical, we're being unethical, then what's the point?
well, I wouldn't classify it as a perception someone thinks you're being unethical. I was only looking at the definition of a conflict of interest in our ordinance. And the committee has a duty to determine whether someone on a particular agenda item has a conflict. And that conflict can either be as a result of a financial interest or a special
Oh,
interest.
we get it, we can't grade our own applications, I totally get that part. But you were saying that earlier that there's a perception.
No, I wasn't saying perception. I was saying,
Grade any.
is there a special interest, or even a financial interest in one's grading other applications that are seeking funds from a limited pool of funds that would go down if
Hey, I see
an earlier applicant is seeking funds, whereby there might be an incentive to say, I don't think.
so that would be unethical to the incentive is unethical.
Well, it's not for me to determine, it's for the committee to determine
Sure.
whether one person on that committee has a conflict. But I will point out,
We would have a conflict grading our own, shall we say, grading our own stuff. But do we have a conflict grading other people's stuff?
Yes. Yes,
No,
yes,
no.
yes.
Well, you could say yes, but you
Yes.
know, you could.
I mean,
you
that's,
could say
that's
yes,
the,
but
that,
be the differing of opinions.
that is, you're perceiving that, that's a perception that it would be.
no, if I.
Not grading your own,
Grading your own.
not grading your own.
Grading
others.
other people's introduces the same variable as grading your own.
It's a perception that somebody's would be unethical,
It's an ability to
Yes, but
control
that
the
was-
scoring.
but you don't know that per se, if it was me or Shelley or whomever,
Right.
that we're going to do that.
Correct.
Right.
This isn't about anybody sitting at this table making
Right.
a decision to score based on their own.
Yeah.
Game,
But
this is the potential.
Potential is the same.
There's also a provision in the ordinance about avoiding the appearance of a conflict.
Yes, that's,
But all that section says is that if a party is determined to have a conflict, that it says that they should not participate in the deliberation on the item at all. And in fact,
on that
there's
one,
another section that says that they should leave the room in order to avoid an appearance of conflict.
Yeah.
But, you know, so I would say though that I'm looking at the order that established this committee, the council order, and the purposes of this committee there are a number of purposes of this committee. It's not just to review these applications. So if someone's sitting on the committee, they could be participating in a number of other items that would involve the many purposes of this committee, even if they might not be able to participate in the grading of applications for the funds. That's not the only function of the committee. It's not the only purpose. It's stated, number of purposes is stated in the council order. So I'm not here to draw a conclusion about what is or isn't a conflict. I'm just here to guide you legally on what a conflict of interest is. And under our ordinance, it's either a financial or special interest that's different from an interest that the general public would have.
But excuse me, David, is it? If we were all to grade everything except our own, is that doable? Is that what you're saying, or is it not doable?
If I take it that your entity
Yeah.
is going to be one of the applicants.
Right, yeah,
Okay, and
I don't wanna grade my own.
right, I'm not talking about your own.
Yeah.
Okay. But before your entity applies for something, you may be reviewing another entity's applications, 2 or 3 or 4, however many other entities.
Yeah.
And if those entities, if the committee recommends approval
Yeah.
on those entities.
Yeah.
And the council approves them, the amount of funds may shrink. And then your entity may not have the opportunity to get as many funds as they otherwise might get if this committee recommends against those other applications.
I get it, that's very complicated, but in
So-
other words,
Can I
You're
throw something
saying-
out? Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
So I think the idea was, am I at a good volume? I don't want to yell at you guys.
No, you're
Can you hear
perfect.
me? Okay. I think the idea was that we would grade all of them and then pay them out highest to lowest, right? As far as like scores go. So if you were like, let's say I put in an application and I didn't score that one application, I'd have to score every other one of them like significantly low or like repeatedly low. That'd be real weird in order to make sure that mine got up high. I think that would be super obvious. I guess the thing that bothers me about it in general is ethical considerations really should be like a personal thing, right? Unless it's like other people are looking at you sideways saying you're doing something significantly wrong. I work for CHCS, even though I'm not here as a representative of CHCS, I'm here as an individual. But I'm happy to not vote for CHCSs because that makes sense to me. That could be an ethical quandary of consideration. But the rest of them, I have no conflict with, and I'm not going to sit there and try to grade all of them low to give CHCS money. That's crazy.
The only thing that I'm telling you is that we have an ordinance, and in order to comply with the ordinance, you gotta look at it and you have to evaluate whether an individual has a financial or special interest in another person's agenda item.
The scoring process as a
Yeah.
whole, not.
Yeah.
an individual.
And I don't know how it actually is gonna work in terms of. You started talking about high to low, and is everybody that applies going to, I mean, I assume that there's gonna be a limitation where after a while, there won't be any funds left for any applicants, right?
It's gonna be a scoring exercise and the top applicants will get grants.
And the bottom
It's
ones.
not like going to be done in silos. We're going to be doing it as a group, right? Like group scoring. It's not like they're going to give me a pile and I'm going to personally score them. We're going to do it
There-
together.
Likely to be more applications than there are grants available. And
Right,
so the scoring could be exclusionary.
okay, so that's an issue.
So school, for us to score somebody else's is gonna be an issue.
It looks to me like it would be an
Okay.
issue, yeah.
Okay.
David, what we did to try to stick to why we were formed. We had said we were gonna have a subcommittee that would do the scoring. Well, when we looked around the room, we had 3 people that were considered not to fall into any of those categories.
Okay,
The chief, Shelley, and you were in that group.
Now,
Right.
where do you work?
Community care.
And you're not applying for any funds through Shaw House or anything? Okay.
So those three people don't work for anybody that would be, applying for funds, and we thought that was fair to have them score and then report back to the full committee what they were recommending.
I just want to throw that out there because I don't ever remember having that conversation. I'm not saying it to be rude or attacky or anything, but I don't remember having. I remember saying that subcommittee was going to go to do the formation of the RFP to avoid conflict for us doing that, and then we were going to come back together as a group from there. I don't. I was very surprised when they were like, "We are also going to be doing the scoring." I didn't. Maybe I
So
missed it.
just-
You know.
It's supposed to be the letter of the lieutenant, is what I understood also.
My recollection was consistent with yours, Counselor.
Yeah,
Which is why we had the sort of,
And we had to go through.
discussion last.
So if that was answering the transparency function by having only the people really score them and report back to the whole group, those that don't have committees or companies that they're gonna be working from, that seemed to be the fairest at the time. And then the next thing I knew, there was at the last meeting, which I was not here, I was in Florida. I should have been here. Was that there was some question about members not feeling valued and not having enough to do, and so part of that was gonna have to be looked at. What are our other functions and what's gonna happen when they make the recommendation? What are next steps?
Because for me, just three people making the recommendations is not the spirit of the committee.
Can I ask a question? I'm looking at the council order and the composition of the committee. It says it has 9 voting members. So is Councilor Hawes not a voting member?
I am a voting member.
Would you be associated with one of the group applicants? So would she not be a fourth?
I think Counselor Hodge probably would not have come.
So wouldn't there then be 4?
That's right, if she was to do it, yeah.
We could do that.
There's no other city entities asking for any money.
Oh, yeah. No, that there is.
So
entities.
that's why Jamie has, I believe, determined that she won't participate in the scoring. There aren't any other city entities that are seeking money.
But you're part of the city.
Well, it does say 9 voting members. And I was trying to count.
We lost
do
one
that.
of our we lost one of our panel members too at one point.
Councilor Hawes is one of the 9 voting members.
We only have 8.
We only have 8
left. So
Counting.
4 out of the 8 would be able to score the applications under the situation as we.
And
The
you know,
rest of us don't vote on it.
looking at this rubric, I've looked at it a few times, just trying to see like, it's not like, these are very distinct questions with certain scores. It's not like there's a lot of room for someone to say, well, they used the blue pen instead of a black one. Like, nobody's gonna try to do that sort of thing. It's more just following these rules.
Right, it's pretty cut and dry.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't understand, I guess, why it would be. I mean, I understand why it's an issue to do their own, but I don't understand why they can't help out. Like he said, we're all gonna be grading together. It's not like you're gonna do some at home and you're gonna do some, and you know what I mean?
The reason why it is potentially an issue
Yeah.
is because of the limited pool of assets that are being sought. It's like a competition.
I see what you mean.
But they all grants are like competition, it's.
Yeah.
The nature of the beast, they all are.
That's true.
And in all grants, you don't score your own, or
Correct.
those in direct
Correct.
competition,
That's right, you don't score your own.
or those in
Or
direct
others, right?
competition.
Well, I've said on others that.
Yeah, I just want to say, and then I'll shut up about it. It feels like to assume that somebody would do that is like a stretch in the wrong direction. It's like the intent is that somebody would likely do something bad, as opposed to just like honoring the fact that we're all here volunteering our time to help out our community and do something positive. And I don't think anybody's going to go out of their way to throw somebody else under the bus, especially when we're talking about a lot of applications. It's like I just said, somebody have to consistently be like, that's a 2, that's a 2, that's a 2. It'd be real obvious if they were trying to tank other people's things. I just think it's silly. And I find it a little bit insulting, honestly.
One thing that United Way does is United Way has different areas that you can apply under. So say 3 of them. And they recruit a lot of different people to read their applications. And if you apply in, say, area 1, you don't read applications in area 1. You can read applications in area 2 or 3. So that is one way that they keep their pool robust without having conflicts. So if we I mean, I'm just throwing this out. We could consider, if we have developed the 3 tiers, we could impose the same rule as one way of managing it. Again, another way would be to do like an applicant, like a reviewer swap with another division. So recruit some other people who have similar experience to us because they're going through the same thing, and ask them to review our applications and offer ourselves to review theirs.
That seems like a really good solution.
But, yeah, I don't think they do, but.
Okay, I didn't know.
I would just like to say, I have to agree with what Scott said. We don't want to make this look like we don't trust our committee members.
Hmm.
We don't, every one of you were chosen basically for the knowledge you have in the areas that we're going to be looking at. And I personally don't think there's any one of you that would try to undermine the application process and how we award
Especially where we
things.
generally all work together.
I think what
We're all on the
happens,
same team, generally.
yeah, and I think what's happened is the particular climate that we're all working in right now. Everything is crying foul.
Mhm.
No, that's a foul, that's a foul. So maybe we were too cautious when we said we would do a subcommittee and we would do this, and then they would come back and the whole group would talk about it. Maybe that's a step that doesn't have to happen. Maybe we just do it as a committee and say, there were X number of members here of the committee that night. They were, we talked about it. This is what we came up with. I don't know. I don't want to see this committee go awry because it's got a lot of good potential to get a lot of things done that's good for the citizens in the city. So my mind is whatever we have to do to make that piece work. If that means don't have a subcommittee and we all do it and we're just very open with the process, that's fine too, but
I mean, I also don't want to waste my time on a process that we've already outlined isn't going to be the best standard of how you score and. award.
Exactly.
So I think there's 2 sides to this, and I guess I'm curious as to what the emotion is that I'm hearing around not being a part of scoring. Like, why are we putting our individual feelings about being left out above the integrity of the process itself?
I think it's more that it's not so much a matter of feeling. It's a matter of we were chosen to be on this committee to do a job.
Mhm.
And we were all part of the same, and we're all on the same team, and now we're not.
We're still on the same team. I think we bring different things to the table. I think there's a lot of expertise that comes with you.
Mhm.
And that expertise has informed a lot of the work up until now. And I am gonna say it's feeling, because what I'm seeing is you're having a reaction to not being able to be a part of the whole
And you're having
process.
reaction too.
Well, my reaction is based on what I just said. I don't wanna waste my time on a process that's not clean and going to end up being challenged.
Well,
So,
okay,
which is where we're headed if we're
Mhm.
talking about everybody scoring all of the programs.
correct.
Right.
We're not
I
headed
don't
there,
think-
we're just.
I'm pretty sure the ethical quandary is very clear that you would not be grading your own application. That just seems like a comment. If anybody says No, I don't feel like I'm conflicted. That'd be a big red flag for me, right? I don't think that's confusing. I do feel like the rest of us should be doing anything that we don't have a conflict with. I think that's the point, right? Like if you've got a conflict with something, say I have a conflict with that, I'm not going to vote for it. I'll even leave the room, whatever. But then we'll be doing the rest of them together as a group. And just to like circle back to the original question, to tell me that I can't participate in voting because I have an ethical consideration, you telling me that I've got an ethical consideration, is you assuming my worst intent that I'm going to go out of my way to try to railroad somebody? That seems, like I said, it's insulting.
It's not me making a decision on whether somebody has a conflict, it's the committee itself voting. The committee has to vote on whether an individual has a conflict on a particular agenda item. And if we have committee members that know they're going to be, and I don't know if, I know that Scott, you're the head of your entity, right? So you clearly have a financial interest in your own application. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't have a personal financial.
Well, nonprofits can have financial interests and special interests in items.
I get it, I don't want to.
So there's no question that, and I don't know if Scott, the other Scott was saying that he works for CHCS. I don't know. You
Yeah,
know,
I'm also not here as a representative of them, and the money that they're asking for has nothing to do with my program, just to be clear.
So, I mean, same for me.
and it may be different with different people as where you are in the organization as to whether you would have a conflict. Right, but it's the committee that votes as to whether you have a conflict on an agenda item. An agenda item would be anybody's application that is to be scored by the rest of the, but to be scored by the committee. I think there's an issue.
Well, that's.
If anybody's gonna be an applicant, then scoring the other applications is an issue that I think needs to be looked at by the committee itself and voted on by the committee itself.
If we were reviewing an application or starting the process. And we started looking at it and all of a sudden. I don't know, you say, I have a conflict. Everything is supposed to cease at that point until we vote on her conflict.
You're not supposed to start any review of it. You need to do the conflict review first.
Right,
Before
but
you
if
start
we
any
ask-
substantive review.
If there's any conflicts on any of these that we're gonna look at tonight. And nobody says anything, we don't necessarily know everyone's day-to-day job, except the chief probably. But another member that's usually here, Justin,
Jason.
Jason.
Oh yeah, and I was trying to say that earlier when you couldn't hear me. He's on vacation until the 27th. That's why he's not here.
But I don't know the full scope of his job either.
Mhm.
But maybe that first few minutes of us saying that goes by. And then he goes, oh, I think I have a conflict. So we have to stop at that point.
Yeah, those sorts of things happen, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not,
Now, in this instance, we already know that there are gonna be people on the committee that are gonna be part of the applicant pool for a limited pool of funds. So I think that the discussion should be had with regard to reviewing those applications before any substantive review starts. With regard to anybody who's on the committee, who's.
So we're gonna take a vote as a committee to either allow people to review applications except for their own or not, right?
What you're gonna be voting on is whether there is a conflict of interest, whether that particular person has a conflict with regard to reviewing all of the other applications.
Right.
Okay, and also whether there be a conflict with that person being part of the review of their own application. I mean, you can phrase the vote how you want to. You could take two votes, or you could just take one vote, but the idea is that I think you need to address those issues before you get started on any of the substantive reviews of any of the applications.
I mean, that's pretty much what we do in the chambers.
Now, the person that's not here, you don't have to review that person's potential conflict, because that person's not gonna participate tonight. But you will have to when the person's
Right.
here, before there's any participation. by that person. If the person is one has a connection with one of the entities that are gonna be the applicant. And applicants.
I believe the person who's not here feels pretty strongly that he does have a
Oh,
conflict
yeah.
of interest and does not wish to participate in the
Correct.
scoring.
Of any of them.
Yes.
Right.
So if we were to not have the subcommittee anymore, and just bring it back to the full committee, what is your reaction to that? Each member being responsible for declaring any conflict they have at the first of that meeting.
Why, what would be the benefit of waiting until the start of the meeting? Cause I think what you were saying, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we kind of know today what the potential conflicts are.
It sounds like there are, there's 8 people on the committee right now?
Yeah.
There were 4 that weren't associated with any entities.
3.
That if includes Counselor Hawes.
She's part of the city who will be applying for money.
I think the
That's just fine.
the analysis is person by person though, right?
Yes,
So,
yes. So the 3 individuals, no, 4 individuals who are associated with entities that will be applicants. There needs to be a discussion of the facts surrounding their potential conflict. And then a vote by the committee on whether that particular person has a conflict of interest with respect to reviewing the applications of other entities. And also a vote on whether they have a conflict of interest on reviewing their own application. So, like I was saying, you could phrase the motion in one way or the other. It's probably cleaner. Well, I mean, you could have a vote on whether that person has a conflict of interest with respect to reviewing any applications. And if the vote turns out to be a majority yes, then that person cannot participate in the discussion on the review of any applications.
So, excuse me, one more thing. So is what you're saying is that, what if I perceive somebody is going to have a conflict and they say they don't?
Well, the issue of conflict can be raised by anyone.
Okay,
You can raise another person's potential conflict.
got it.
But in this case, the issues have all been raised already. Somebody has raised it, and I don't know who raised it, but I mean, it's not even disputed really by anybody that there are people here who head up entities that are gonna be one of the applicants for the pool of, for something in the pool of funds. I'm not sure what the underlying facts are with regard to a number of them, including Counselor Hawes, I didn't know if the city was gonna be an applicant for any of the funds.
I suspect the public health will apply for funds.
Public health, okay. So the facts of Counselor Hawes's situation as being a city councilor is not exactly the same as the facts of, say, Scott Party's being the head of his entity, and each person's might be different, and you should discuss those facts before you ultimately take a vote.
Scott, did you want to say something or are you just?
Rolling your eyes.
Oh,
Can't hear you.
you're gone again.
Are you muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Beautiful. I don't think it's anything new. I just feel like we're overcomplicating this because somebody threw a big hissy fit about it, and there was one person on board who also was a little bit concerned. And the reality is, everybody's here with good intentions, so I don't know why we have to make such a circus out of it. I think that if we're going to make a rule about whether or not somebody having a conflict is whether they should vote or not, it should just be a blanket rule. I don't think it makes sense going person to person. I think we should just say that nobody should be judging their own, that's silly. If other people should be judging them or not, should be a group conversation, like a yes or a no. I don't think it should go person by person. That doesn't make sense to me.
I do think the code of ordinances requires an individual vote by person.
Yes.
Because
Okay.
the facts and different for each person.
That's right. It's not complicated in that regard.
That's the ordinance that we have to work with, so.
Fair enough. I just didn't understand that. It just seems like a lot.
Is most not doing? The county.
I don't know what they're doing.
They have a very few people on their committee.
Very-
Sheriff,
Okay.
Jamie Beck, and Wendy Dana.
Yeah, Monday, Friday,
Oh, there's only 3 people?
Yeah.
Yeah. the administrator.
We are gonna be bogged down.
100%.
And this is gonna slow this process, and the public is gonna be curious what we're doing and why we're not spending money because we're so bogged down on conflicts.
But it's gotta be the public who complains about the conflict.
So I think we should maybe consider Jenny's comments. Maybe reach out to the law center and see if there is indeed a swap available. Otherwise, we are gonna be having this conversation on every single application, and we know we're gonna receive a lot of applications. And we're just never gonna make any progress. And if there's a group in Walnut County that will be willing to review ours, and we would be reviewing theirs, that might be a cleaner situation than what we have now. We have a city code, we have to follow this. We may not like it, but we have to follow it. And I feel like we are going to spin our wheels for the next 2 or 3 meetings while other organizations are pushing money out the door and trying to help organizations that are asking for money.
We could. Yeah, definitely do that,
Sounds great.
I think we should too.
if people are watching.
Are the members who were unhappy with being excluded from the scoring process satisfied with that solution?
I think it's
Yeah, I'd be
great.
cool with that. Totally.
Bluffing.
I'm good with
We can explore it, yeah. I mean, I think it'll be dependent on timing, right? This won't be.
Yeah,
So,
but I think it could be sped up, right?
And I agree with the chief going outside of the county.
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah, I do too.
is an appropriate.
Yes.
I think it's possible the law center might be able to give us some guidance on this and maybe connect us with another group. that we
If it
can
could
swap
be-
It
services.
can't be the only group.
If they could be, you know, expeditious about it, would be great, because. You figure this is almost the end of October,
The applications are out now, right?
they are.
so we're gonna be getting,
Have we got money yet?
Did you have someone specific in? I'm sorry, did I just talk over somebody? Your mic got lower, so it's hard to hear in the room. Jamie, did you have somebody in mind specifically that we could trade with? Because that's what they're talking about at the moment.
No, I don't.
I'll reach out to the Moss Center and see if they have someone.
Yeah, it did get hard to hear.
we're all looking at shit.
Yeah, I'm like looking around like we're gonna get
Everybody that's watching this at home is going.
Yeah.
I feel like you just asked a question because you all just looked at the screen, but we did not hear it.
Huh.
Did you ask a question?
We didn't do anything different.
Yeah.
I
like I
think
can hear
I'm
you.
also starting to understand how much I lip read too. So
It's so strange.
So
Do we need to vote on that?
I think that's, well, we can do a consensus or we can do a roll call, whatever you're comfortable with.
Let's see if.
You gotta leave
Oh.
with it. Can you type that in the chat?
They can't, you can't hear us all.
Who we have up there? We have Jason.
Yeah.
Scott.
What?
What? Can you hear us?
We can hear you. You're just very low.
it's like
Just-
you have a bunch of rocks in your mouth and you're looking at each other
If
mumbling.
you see my head hanging down here, it's because I'm putting my ear next to my speaker. That's what I'm doing.
Looking at us with one eye.
Where is the microphone? Up on the front of the TV or
Should be up there.
up there somewhere?
Yeah. Should be
It's
up there.
Oh, yeah.
It's supposed to be. It's not green right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, if it were up to me, I would think that the easiest solution would be just to vote whether or not it's a conflict for us to do the things, but apparently that's not how that works. And I agree with the chief, or at least what I think he said, that would take a crazy amount of time to go one by one to have that conversation over and over would be ridiculous. So if we can just trade them out with somebody, that's what makes sense.
Everybody in agreement with that
I am,
consent? Yes.
less pressure on me.
So I'll reach out to the Moss Center and start exploring that with them. Do we want to have a meeting on the calendar to
Yes.
discuss that? Once I have,
Yes,
so 2 weeks from now, we'll put a meeting on the calendar.
because our time is gonna go quickly.
Yeah.
You know, it's already
Because
the
when
end
are
of
the
October.
applications due?
December 1.
Okay, so that's not a lot. of
We
time.
had said
Yeah,
November
yeah.
30,
Yeah,
but where the Thanksgiving holiday
Yeah.
fell, it made sense to do it the first rather.
yeah. That's
Do
not
that.
a lot of time to get this over with, this part.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments, questions for the city solicitor?
Thank you.
No, but I do want to say thank you for coming in. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you guys. I hate that. I just wanted to say thank you for coming in and clarifying that. I know it was convoluted and you did a good job. Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
You're not talking loud enough.
All right, are we adjourned?
Okay,
Good night.
if there's nothing else, we are.